Before you work with a Chinese company, 30 minutes of due diligence could save you 1 year of debt chasing. Let me start with a scenario. A foreign company wanted to purchase equipment from a Chinese supplier. The supplier sent over a beautiful company profile, huge factory photos, and one line that looked extremely convincing. Registered capital RMB 50 million. The overseas buyer thought, great, that's solid. They signed the contract and paid the deposit. Then the delivery date arrived and nothing shipped. And the excuses were always the same. Please wait a bit longer. The boss is on a business trip. It's going through internal financial procedures. But here is the hard truth. There is a good chance the company you signed with never had real performance capacity in the first place. Tight cash flow, lawsuits everywhere, bank account frozen, or even listed as an abnormal business or on a dishonesty blacklist. By the time you realize it, you're already in debt chasing mode. Negotiation, demand letter, litigation, enforcement, and both time and cost explode. So the issue is often not that your contract wasn't well drafted. It's that you chose the wrong counterparty from the very beginning. So today we have a clear goal in our video. Before signing the contract, how can you use 30 minutes to run a light due diligence check and quickly decide whether the Chinese company is worth working with? I am a China-based lawyer specializing in cross-border legal matters and working at a top 5 law firm in China. In today's video, I'll walk you through how to conduct a practical pre-contract check on your potential business partner in China. I recommend evaluating from 3 big angles. Is the company real? Do they actually have money and performance capacity? If something goes wrong, can you realistically recover and enforce? Before you sign anything, there is one thing you must clarify with your counterparty. Is the contracting party the same as the receiving party? You should obtain and verify 3 items: the company's full legal name, the unified social credit code, and legally, the contracting entity should be the paying entity and should be the invoicing entity. Many cross-border disputes get stuck right here. For example, you sign the contract with company A, but they ask you to pay company B, or they ask you to pay into a personal bank account, or they see there is our Hong Kong company, or our affiliate company. These arrangements are not necessarily illegal, but they make your legal path much more complicated, and your risk much higher if you need to enforce later. Do they actually have performance capacity? Here, your job is to determine where the company looks strong on paper, but is actually weak in cash flow. I suggest focusing on 3 factors: SOE background, state-owned or state-controlled. First, check whether the company is a Chinese state-owned enterprise or has a state-owned shareholder. Generally speaking, if a company is an SOE or state-controlled, performance stability tends to be stronger. Not 100% guaranteed, of course, but compared to many private companies, funding strength and compliance are often more reliable. Registered capital, useful, but don't rely on the number alone. Registered capital can be a reference, but you should never treat it as proof of real financial strength. Because in China, registered capital is historically tied to a subscription system, meaning a company can register a capital amount without immediately paying it into the company account. In many cases, the company may still close to a shell. Under China's new company law, effective July 1, 2024, companies are required to complete capital contribution within a prescribed period. But that's not the main point of today's video. What matters for your quick check is, on China's corporate public information platforms, You can often see whether the company has completed paid-in capital, which helps you understand real capital and assess financial strength, litigation and enforcement risk, a critical red flag. This one deserves extra attention. Through certain public databases, you can often check whether the company is frequently sued, has enforcement records, or has been listed as a dishonest judgment debtor. If a company has a large number of court judgments and enforcement cases, be very cautious. Because in many situations, it's not that they don't want to pay, it's that they likely cannot pay. If a dispute happens, can you maximize recovery? Now, let's talk about the final layer, prevention for the worst case scenario. If a dispute really happens, how do you expand the enforcement space and maximize recovery in the due diligence stage? I recommend paying special attention to 2 points. Is this a wholly owned company, which means single shareholder or sole shareholder structure? Has the shareholder completed the capital contribution? If not, how much is still unpaid? Why do these matter? Because in a dispute, your primary lawsuit or arbitration respondent will be the contracting party. And with limited liability companies, if shareholders have fulfilled their obligations, they generally do not bear liability for company debts beyond their contribution. Sometimes even after you win a judgment, the company still can't pay. It may be punished with restrictions, like being listed as dishonest or limited in high spending. But as the creditor, you may still not actually recover your money. So we look for ways to expand practical enforcement options. That's why these 2 points are so important. If it's a single shareholder company, the shareholder may face joint liability in certain cases. If the company is 100% owned by one individual or one company, then even if the contracting entity cannot repay, you may have a pathway to involve the shareholder, depending on the facts and evidence. Under China's company law, commonly cited as Article 23, if a shareholder abuses the company's independent legal personality and limited liability to evade debts and seriously damage creditors' interests, the shareholder may bear joint and several liability. And for a single shareholder company, if the shareholder cannot prove that the company's property is independent from the shareholder's own property, the shareholder may bear joint and several liability for company debts. In other words, if it's a sole shareholder structure, you may have stronger legal tools to pursue the shareholder if the conditions are met. If capital is not fully paid in, creditors may push or accelerated contribution. If the company has not completed paid-in capital, then after a debt arises, as a creditor, you may still have options regarding the unpaid contribution. Practically speaking, if you already have an effective claim, you may request accelerated contribution, so the shareholder injects capital into the company, and the company then has funds available to repay debts. Let me summarize in one sentence. A perfect contract cannot solve the problem of a counterparty that has no money, no capacity, or no intention to perform. In cross-border cooperation, the highest return action often happens before you sign. 30 minutes of light due diligence may help you avoid years of painful debt chasing. If you're currently negotiating with a Chinese company and preparing to sign a contract, you can send me the company name, and I can share a basic due diligence checking approach. And if you already have a dispute, I can also help you do an initial case assessment. Just follow me and leave a comment about the dispute or risk you're facing. I am your on-the-ground China legal support, Lawyer In.